Chosen one, be still for a moment. Forget the noise of your day, the distractions around you, and listen closely. What you're about to hear is not ordinary. It's not just another video. This is a divine encounter. You didn't stumble across this by coincidence. You were guided here, handpicked by the Spirit, for a reason. Because tonight is different. This night holds more power, more breakthrough, more significance than the last 10 years of your life combined. You may not realize it yet, but something has already begun to shift in the Spirit. If you've been feeling an unexplainable pressure lately, if things have been falling apart, or if you've been sensing that something bigger is coming, you are absolutely right. God has been building toward this very moment in your life. You're not standing at the edge of a season. You're standing at the doorway of transformation. But before we step deeper into this prophetic moment, I need you to take a small step of obedience that opens great spiritual gates. First, like this video, it lets this message find others who are also chosen. Second, subscribe and help us carry this message to 1 million hearts who need to hear it. And third, comment the number 777. That number signifies divine completion, spiritual awakening, and holy alignment. When you type it, you're not just leaving a comment, you're declaring to heaven that you are ready. To those of you who have sown into this mission through super thanks, your support is not just appreciated, it's sacred. Thank you for every seed you've planted into this ministry. Whether through a donation, a prayer, or simply watching these videos faithfully, you are part of something far greater than you can imagine. Your generosity is fueling a global awakening. So let me ask you something that only your spirit can answer. What if everything you've endured up until this point, every heartbreak, every delay, every silent season, was preparing you for this night? Tonight is not about chance, it is about divine timing. God is not just opening a door, He's unlocking a gate that was sealed for years. This is where the shift happens. This is when things that were out of reach suddenly come into your hands. This is when delayed dreams start chasing you. Tonight marks the beginning of answered prayers, restored faith, and doors you didn't even know existed. The enemy thought he had time. He thought the delays would break you. But what he didn't see coming was this, that your greatest transformation would come not after the storm, but tonight, in the middle of it. Stay until the end of this message, because what I'm about to share next will reveal why God kept you waiting, and why that wait is about to turn into a wave of blessings so fast you'll barely have time to catch your breath. Shall we begin? God's chosen ones, tonight, matters more than the last 10 years. Don't miss it. There are seasons when heaven speaks with a still, small voice, quietly nudging your spirit, guiding you gently through the unknown. But then there are nights like this, nights when heaven does not whisper, but roars with undeniable force. Tonight is not soft. Tonight God is not speaking in hints or echoes. He is declaring boldly. And you, God's chosen one, are the reason for this holy disruption. You didn't stumble onto this moment by coincidence. Long before your first breath, you were set apart. You were handpicked, heaven-marked, and your soul was sealed with a divine assignment that no rejection, no betrayal, no failure, and no delay could cancel. You were not designed to be average. You carry the DNA of someone appointed for greatness. And this night, yes, this exact moment, is not just significant, it is sacred. It is your appointed launch into everything that has been promised. What if everything you've suffered, all the nights you cried yourself to sleep, all the times you questioned your value, was actually part of God's divine training ground? Just as Moses wandered 40 years in the wilderness before stepping into destiny, and as David dodged spears and hid in caves before wearing a crown, and Joseph was betrayed, sold, and imprisoned before ascending to Pharaoh's palace, your delays have been disguised instructions. Your isolation has been God's secret strategy to prepare you for impact. Can you feel it in your spirit? That trembling anticipation that something is shifting? That's not nervousness. That's alignment. It's heaven making room for your rise. God hasn't forgotten a single moment of your suffering. In fact, He's been using every trial to strengthen what will soon be revealed. The tears you cried were never wasted. They were watering your future. Every silent prayer, every unseen act of obedience, every quiet surrender was a brick laid in the foundation of what is about to emerge. So, buckle up, not for turbulence, but for velocity. When God says to brace yourself, He doesn't mean prepare for pain. He means get ready for acceleration. Things are about to shift so fast that you'll feel the wind of breakthrough rushing past your shoulders. Just as Elijah outran the chariots after years of drought and despair, you are about to outrun every obstacle that once held you back. Doors that were closed will swing wide open. The voices that mocked you will go quiet. The past that tried to define you will lose its grip. And the light of your calling will shine so clearly, even those who doubted you will have no choice but to watch in awe. You've spent a decade wondering when your time would come. You've laid in silence, asking God if He still sees you, if He still hears you. You've watched others succeed while you stayed hidden, faithfully showing up without applause. But what if the last 10 years were not a delay, but a divine setup for what must unfold tonight? What if this very night matters more than the entire decade behind you? God's word reminds us in Habakkuk 2:3, though the vision tarries, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. And now, chosen one, the vision is coming, not slowly, but suddenly. Heaven is not idle tonight. Angels have been dispatched. Spiritual winds are shifting. A divine collision is taking place between your obedience and God's perfect timing. Think of Pope Francis, a humble servant who lived much of his life in quiet devotion before becoming a global voice of compassion and change. His rise wasn't about ambition, it was about God's timing. Or consider Tyler Perry, a man once homeless sleeping in his car, now creating stories that heal millions. He said, "What I've learned is that everything I went through was necessary." Could that be true for you too? This is not just any night. This is not just a moment. This is your prophetic awakening. The heavens are declaring your transition from hidden to heralded, from questioned to called, from overlooked to anointed. You are not stepping forward with trembling. You are stepping forward with authority. And this rise, your rise, cannot be denied, delayed, or destroyed. It has been written in heaven's scrolls long before anyone saw your value on earth. Are you ready to step into everything God has prepared for you? Are you ready to stop shrinking to fit the expectations of those who never understood your call? Because tonight, everything changes. Not next month, not someday. Tonight, the divine shift begins now. God's movement in your life has never been about popularity. It has always been about purpose. And your purpose, chosen one, has not been handed to you lightly. It has been forged, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. It has matured in the unseen furnace of suffering, in the silent battles no one applauded, in the tears cried behind closed doors. You may have been overlooked by people, but never by heaven. The delay you experienced was never heaven saying no. It was heaven saying not yet, because I'm refining you for something greater than you imagined. Just like gold is purified in fire, your spirit has been purified through affliction, and now that refining process has reached its appointed moment. You are stepping into spaces that once felt too big to dream of. Doors that were bolted shut are now opening, not because you fought your way in, but because your name has already been whispered in heavenly circles. You are not stepping forward because you earned it by the world's standards. You're moving forward because you were chosen for such a time as this, just like Esther, whose preparation in the king's palace positioned her to save a nation. Do you realize that right now you are walking into the very places that used to intimidate you? The tables you once thought you'd never be invited to, you are now being seated at with honor. And what's even more powerful, you don't need to apologize for it. You were not designed to shrink in order to make others comfortable. You were created to rise, to be light on the hill, to take dominion over mountains, and to stand in bold alignment with your destiny. Stop waiting for permission. Stop hoping someone will validate what God has already affirmed. You don't need a round of applause to know your worth. God has already placed His seal on you. You are approved, anointed, and assigned. The world is waiting, not for a perfect version of you, but for the real you, the one heaven has been preparing in silence. There's a shaking coming, but it's not destruction, it's positioning. Just as Paul and Silas experienced an earthquake in the prison that didn't end in collapse but in deliverance, God is shaking your foundation to release you from what has held you too long. This shaking, though it may feel chaotic, is actually heaven's construction zone. God is clearing away the clutter. He's tearing down the limiting beliefs, old mindsets, and dead connections that have rooted you in places beneath your calling. He is not in the business of small gestures. When He moves, the earth feels it, and now your life is trembling, not from fear, but from favor. The kind of holy disruption that breaks chains, removes facades, and makes room for glory. Can you feel the tremble beneath your feet? That is your old life being dismantled. The generational curses that once defined your bloodline are being shattered. The cycles of fear, lack, and rejection are losing their power. New roots are going deep, not in dry ground, but in divine soil. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if familiar things begin to fall away, don't resist the shift. This is not your undoing. This is your remaking. Like the potter in Jeremiah 18, who reformed the clay after it was marred, God is reshaping you for a vessel of greater use. And when He finishes, the very things that once disqualified you will be the things that glorify Him through your story. So buckle up. The launch has begun, and where you're going, your past cannot follow you. Yes, you heard that correctly. 10 years of progress compressed into one God-ordained night. This isn't poetic exaggeration. It's supernatural acceleration. God is redeeming the time. The years that were lost to betrayal, depression, fear, or self-doubt are being restored with interest. You are about to experience what Peter did after a long night of failure, when Jesus told him to cast his net one more time, and the result was a harvest so large the boat began to sink. Or the widow in 2 Kings 4, who thought she had nothing left but a jar of oil, only to discover that God could multiply her little into an overflow that never ran dry. Think of the artist Vincent van Gogh. During his lifetime, he was unrecognized, dismissed, and even ridiculed. But he once wrote, "Great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together." And now his unseen years are celebrated as genius. Could it be that what you've endured in the dark is the foundation of your coming brilliance? Tonight, chosen one, stop trying to figure it all out. This kind of elevation doesn't come through logic, it comes through obedience. You don't need to hustle your way through the doors God is opening. You only need to walk through them in faith. Divine mathematics is at work. One act of surrender, one moment of alignment, one night of obedience can produce a decade of healing, elevation, visibility, and favor. This is not just your comeback, it's your takeoff. And you won't just catch up to what you lost. You will overtake it. You are not just being restored, you are being accelerated. The kind of turnaround that will leave even your enemies in stunned silence. So get ready. God's about to move in ways that exceed your prayers, defy your timelines, and fulfill His promise. Are you ready to rise? Because heaven already decided you're next. The struggle you've endured hasn't been imaginary. It's been real, relentless, and often unbearably heavy. It didn't just touch one area of your life. It stretched across your mind, your emotions, your body, your finances, and even your faith. People around you might have seen your smile and assumed you were fine, but they had no idea that behind that smile were countless nights of wrestling with anxiety, discouragement, and exhaustion. They heard your voice, but they never heard the volume of your silent battles, the internal storms you faced with no applause, no relief, and no visible finish line. But hear this, God's chosen one. That season of endless struggle is finally coming to a divine end. Heaven has taken notice, not just of your pain, but of your perseverance. Every single moment when you swallowed your tears just to encourage someone else has not gone unnoticed. Every time you showed up despite being spiritually drained, God saw it. And tonight, He is drawing a supernatural line in the sand and declaring, enough. Enough surviving. Enough suppressing your gifts. Enough pretending you're okay while secretly wondering when the breakthrough will come. This isn't a slow fade. It's a sudden cut. The struggle isn't going to ease up. It's going to evaporate. The burdens you've carried in your spirit, the voices that told you you're not enough, the patterns that kept you playing small, are now being shattered under heaven's authority. Do you remember how God split the Red Sea, not gradually but immediately at Moses' command? That's the kind of miracle this night carries. This is your exodus. The night chains break and you step into freedom you thought was reserved for others. You've survived emotional earthquakes, financial droughts, and spiritual silence that made you question if God still remembered your name. You've whispered, "Why me?" more times than you could count. But now God responds, "Because I chose you for this very shift." And when God shifts a life, He doesn't simply restore it, He reverses the pain and redeems the time. Think about Joseph, sold into slavery by his brothers, wrongly imprisoned, forgotten. Yet, in one moment, Pharaoh called his name, and everything changed. His suffering became his platform, his pain became his authority. That's what's happening for you. The betrayal, the loss, the rejection, it's all being flipped. You are that rejected stone, now becoming the cornerstone. The tears you cried in private will become public rivers of testimony. The shame you endured will turn into strength, and this shift will not be subtle, it will be seismic. Like Paul and Silas singing in the prison until the foundations shook and every door flew open, your breakthrough will not sneak in quietly. It will echo, it will speak, and it will turn heads. The very people who once pitied you will soon ask, "How did they rise so fast?" And your only answer will be, "It was the hand of God." Your story doesn't end in struggle. In fact, that struggle was never meant to define you. It was meant to prepare you. Every hardship was simply a prologue to a divine takeover. You've tasted the pain of delay. You've known the weight of praying with an empty bank account, putting off dreams because of limited means, feeling the sting of watching others prosper while you waited in faith. But now, the vaults of heaven are opening. And make no mistake, God is not just sending you money, He's sending you wisdom. He's releasing strategy, clarity, and supernatural ideas that will not only sustain you, but overflow through you into the lives of others. This is not just provision, this is transformation, the kind that redefines your identity and reshapes your legacy. Do you remember the widow in 2 Kings 4 who believed she had nothing left but a small jar of oil? With obedience, she poured that oil and discovered that what she thought was her ending was actually the beginning of overflow. Or Peter, who after a night of catching nothing, obeyed Jesus' command and received a catch so great it nearly broke the nets. That same anointing of sudden increase is coming upon you. This is your divine pivot. You are stepping into a reality where the numbers don't make sense, but the harvest is undeniable. Where the pain you endured gives way to peace you never imagined. Where the nights of crying give birth to mornings of joy. And just as entrepreneur and speaker Sarah Jakes Roberts, the daughter of Bishop T.D. Jakes, once shared, your struggle is a setup for your strength. She speaks from her own battles, from redemption after failure, and her story has inspired millions. Could it be that your story, too, will become the roadmap for someone else's resurrection? So take a breath, chosen one, because what you're stepping into is not a coincidence, it's compensation. It's the manifestation of prayers you almost gave up on. The season of famine is being replaced with a season of feast. What you lost in years, God is returning in a moment. Are you ready to step into your new? Because tonight isn't just the end of a battle, it's the beginning of your reign. God is rewriting your financial story, and He's doing it with divine authority. Have you ever wondered why the struggle lasted so long? Why lack seemed to chase you even when you were faithful? Tonight, the heavens declare the answer. This was not punishment, it was preparation. God is reversing the curse of financial lack in your life, and He's doing it in a way that silences every system, every voice, and every lie that told you it would never happen. He's not just blessing you with income, He's releasing unexpected deposits, kingdom partnerships, divine strategies, business visions, restored inheritances, and supernatural favor, all set in motion by the one who is called Jehovah Jireh, your provider. It's not luck, it's not timing, it's the fulfillment of Philippians 4:19, which promises, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus." Can you feel it in your spirit? The shift isn't just economic, it's prophetic. The same God who rained manna from heaven is about to drop provision into places you never expected. What if this is your Exodus moment, where the oppression of poverty breaks and you step into promised land abundance? Yes, you've been mocked. People called you unrealistic. They said your faith made no sense. But like Noah building the ark under blue skies, you believed anyway. What they couldn't see was the fire being forged inside you, the spiritual resilience God was developing in secret. You've been in rooms where your ideas were dismissed, your presence overlooked, and your dreams belittled. But now God is doing what He did for Hannah. You remember her, don't you? She wept in the temple, her cries misunderstood by the priest, but God heard her, and in due time she held Samuel, the very miracle she once begged for. What if you too are standing on the edge of holding what you once only prayed for? Will you let your success speak instead of seeking revenge? Will you rise in grace and let your presence shift atmospheres without saying a word? Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." So don't chase applause, walk in anointing. This is not your season to whisper. When you speak, they will listen. When you walk in, the room will adjust. The presence you carry has been birthed in fire, and now it carries the weight of heaven. You have gone from being silenced to being sent, and those who once dismissed you will have no choice but to take notice. Have you considered how Joseph must have felt when he moved from the prison to the palace overnight? What if God is preparing that kind of turnaround for you? One moment of divine intervention can rewrite a decade of difficulty. Genesis 50:20 reminds us of Joseph's words, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done." Could your suffering have been the setup all along? Your tears have not fallen to the ground unnoticed. Your prayers have not bounced off the ceiling. Psalm 56:8 says, "You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle." God was with you when you were crying in silence, when you were giving with trembling hands, and when you were encouraging others while your own heart was breaking. You are not just entering a season of financial blessing, you are entering a transformation. God is not just restoring what you lost, He is compensating you for the years the locusts ate, just as He promised in Joel 2:25. "I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten." Can you see it? You're no longer sowing in survival mode. You're stepping into overflow. The kind that doesn't just pay your bills, but empowers your purpose. Like Peter casting his net after a fruitless night and pulling in so much that it nearly sank the boat. What if your yes tonight leads to that kind of breakthrough? So are you ready to carry what you once only cried for? Are you prepared for the same God who watched you sow in scarcity to now let you reap in abundance? This is not fantasy. This is fulfillment, and the heavens are already in motion. Your struggles have not gone unnoticed. Every cry of your spirit, every silent scream, every weary sigh, it has all reached the ears of heaven. And tonight, heaven is responding not with pity, but with justice. This is not merely a moment of emotional relief, it is a sacred reversal, a divine decree that what once caused you pain will now produce your celebration. For every sleepless night, God is giving you supernatural rest. For every door slammed in your face, He is preparing royal invitations. For every moment you were silenced in shame, you will now be surrounded in glory. Can you sense the shift? Heaven is not asking permission, it's issuing a command. Isaiah 61:7 says, "Instead of your shame you shall receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace you shall rejoice in your inheritance Bata." This is your double portion season. God saw what you endured behind the curtain, and now He's pulling it back, not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your strength. There is no more room for hiding, no more shrinking to make others comfortable. You've been called, and this calling isn't faint, it's roaring. This is not just a lift, it's a launch, a heavenly propulsion into purpose, visibility, and spiritual authority. Like Daniel in the lion's den, who emerged untouched, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walking through fire without even smelling like smoke. You've walked through flames that should have destroyed you, and yet here you stand. Isn't that proof enough that you were preserved for something far greater? Even if you feel unqualified, even if your past screams you're not ready, God is not asking for a resume. He's asking for your yes. Remember 1 Corinthians 1:27. God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. You were not chosen for being perfect. You were chosen because you were willing, and the anointing on your life is too thick, too undeniable to be ignored any longer. So what's coming won't be small, and it certainly won't be silent. It will be loud, visible, and even global. Yes, global. Can you believe that? The kind of rise you're about to step into will be so profound. No force in hell can interfere. No critic's opinion, no whispered lie, no past mistake has the power to cancel what God has signed in His blood. What was once held back is now being released. You've been carried by grace through the wilderness, but now grace is placing a crown on your head. Are you ready to wear what you were born for? Your rise is not cosmetic, it's foundational. It will shake systems, it will flip perceptions, it will rearrange your entire landscape. And yes, people may try to slow you down. Some will shoot arrows with their words. But just like Nehemiah, who was building the wall and refused to come down no matter how many enemies tried to distract him, you must stay focused. Why come down when your work is God-ordained? When God moves, He doesn't move tentatively. He moves with finality, And when he speaks, no man, no structure, no strategy can overturn what he has declared. Revelation 3:7 says, "What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open." The doors you are stepping through are not man-made. They are divinely assigned. These are kingdom doors. And your name is being spoken in rooms you've never stepped into. Connections are aligning. Opportunities are being shaped. And none of it is random. It is divine orchestration. So stop explaining your calling to people who were never anointed to understand it. Stop begging for understanding from those who were never assigned to your path. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't owe clarity to critics. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Because when God moves, his hand does the talking. They mocked you because they never saw what God was doing behind the scenes. They couldn't understand why you disappeared, why you turned down certain things, why you were quiet when others were loud. But that wasn't failure. That was God hiding you, setting you apart like David in the field, like Esther behind palace walls, like John the Baptist in the wilderness. You weren't being forgotten. You were being reserved. And now the revelation is here, not the idea, not the preparation, the unveiling. What's been hidden is about to be made known. Isaiah 61 calls you forward. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This is your call to rise. This is your moment to shine. This is not just an elevation. It's the fulfillment of a prophecy spoken over your life long before anyone believed in you. This kind of divine elevation has played out in the lives of many we now admire. Take Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. Born into poverty in Brooklyn public housing, he grew up with no certainty of success. But he believed in a bigger vision, pushed through adversity, and eventually built a global brand that redefined an industry. Or consider Bishop T.D. Jakes, who once preached in small storefront churches with barely enough money for food, yet now ministers to millions worldwide. What if your rise, like theirs, is designed to be seen, not to bring you fame, but to reveal God's power through your story? Can you feel the fire under your feet? Can you sense heaven leaning in? Because the stage has been set, the veil is lifting, and now all creation is about to witness the manifestation of what God always knew about you. God is turning the very things they mocked into the very things they'll soon admire. Isn't it incredible how heaven takes what was once a source of shame and reshapes it into a platform of glory? The very tears you cried will be the reason others are inspired. The faith they ridiculed will become the rock you stand on. And your obedience, costly, quiet, and often lonely, will be the irrefutable evidence that you walked with God when it made no sense to do so. You don't have to fight for recognition. That battle has already been won in the courts of heaven. You are already known, approved, and chosen. And chosen doesn't mean you're simply accepted. It means you're set apart, favored, protected, elevated, and crowned. Deuteronomy 14:2 reminds you, the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession. You don't walk like others because you weren't built like others. You now carry heaven's authority in your steps. So let the mockers fall into silence. Their laughter will be drowned out by the undeniable sound of your rising. Think of Nelson Mandela, who was once mocked, imprisoned, and silenced. But the world that once chained him now cherishes him. His resilience turned rejection into reverence. What if God is writing a similar story through your life? Not to make you famous, but to make his faithfulness visible. You've depended on people who let you down. You've leaned on relationships that left you more empty than full. Haven't you asked yourself, why do the very ones I trust seem to leave me more broken? But tonight, heaven is calling you higher. God is removing every false crutch, not to punish you, but to free you. Because when your soul is anchored in him alone, you begin to fly. And when you depend fully on God, as Psalm 23 verse 1 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing." God is becoming your sole source, your guide, your provider, your defender. He is not just enough, He is more than enough. And the moment you release the need for validation from people who were never assigned to you, you'll begin to see the power that was already growing inside you. You'll discover that the weakness was never in your spirit, only in your attachments. So let me ask you, are you still waiting for someone to come rescue you? Because you don't need a savior, you already have one. You are not a victim, you are a vessel. And tonight, God is ready to fill you with boldness, clarity, and peace that cannot be shaken. 2. Timothy 1:7 assures you, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. This is your Independence Day. You are walking out stronger, wiser, and more surrendered than you've ever been. To the only one who never fails. You've survived long enough. Now it's time to thrive. A new life is calling your name, one not built on trauma, but on truth. Not on fear, but on faith. One filled with not just material provision, but spiritual authority, emotional healing, and unshakable confidence. This isn't just a new chapter, it's a whole new book, one authored by the hand of God Himself. Every area of your life is about to be restructured. Relationships will be realigned, finances will be replenished, health will be restored, influence will be expanded. This is not just restoration, this is reinvention. Isaiah 43:19 speaks to this moment. "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" The next version of you will not resemble the one who suffered. The pain refined you, but it will not define you. You will enter rooms healed, whole, and crowned with wisdom. Like Job, who after his suffering received double what he lost, your next season will not look like your last. Job 42:10 says, "And the Lord restored the fortunes of Job, and gave him twice as much as he had before." So get ready. Clear your physical space, yes, but more importantly, clear your mental space. Release what no longer serves you. End what no longer feeds your spirit. The life you prayed for isn't approaching. It has arrived. And it's drenched in favor, soaked in supernatural overflow, and pulsing with undeniable power. Think of author and speaker Lisa Bevere. She often shares how her past included shame, trauma, and a deep sense of insecurity. But through surrender and obedience, God raised her into global influence, not by polishing her wounds, but by revealing His strength through them. Could that same grace now be working in you? This is the rise of the chosen one, not by force, not by fame, but by fire, faith, and God's favor. Nothing will ever be the same again. Tonight is not ordinary. This is not just another moment in your journey. It is a divine interruption. Heaven is moving with precision, and with one breath, God is wiping away 10 years of struggle, loss, and silent suffering. And the weight you've carried for what felt like a lifetime, it's about to be lifted so completely that you'll look back and wonder if it was all just a dream. The torment that followed you in private for years, those tears, those breakdowns, those unanswered prayers, it will end publicly in victory. Can you feel it? This isn't just a turning point, it's a transformation. You've walked through fire that should have burned you to ashes. The kind of fire that consumes everything in its path. Dreams, relationships, faith, even identity. And yet, you emerged not charred, but changed. You've stood through storms so violent they left others broken, wandering, and lost. But you, God's chosen one, you didn't just survive, you endured. And now, because you endured with faith intact and hope barely flickering but never extinguished, you're about to be rewarded with a level of freedom so deep it will feel like you've been born all over again. God isn't just removing the pain from your memory, He's erasing the sting of it. Like a scar that no longer aches, the emotional wounds you've carried will become marks of wisdom, not reminders of agony. You'll recall the lessons, yes, but the sharp edge of sorrow will no longer cut. Isaiah 43:18-19 whispers over your soul, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing." The enemy thought he had you. He assumed that if he stretched the trial long enough, months into years, years into a decade, he could wear you out, that you would break under the pressure, surrender your promise, and silence your voice. But what he failed to calculate was your holy resilience and the unmatched precision of God's perfect timing. Galatians 6:9 reminds you, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap, if we do not lose heart." And now, this moment, this very night, is your due season. One divine encounter is about to undo everything hell tried to construct in your life. You won't just wake up lighter tomorrow, you'll wake up transformed. Chains will snap in your sleep. Chains of fear, lack, heartbreak, addiction, shame, and depression. You'll arise with a new name, a new rhythm, a new breath in your chest that no longer feels suffocated by invisible burdens. And when people look at you in wonder, when they ask, "What happened to you?" your response won't need to be complicated. You'll simply say, "God showed up." Because when God steps in, He doesn't take years to fix what's broken. He redeems time. One night in God's hands is more powerful than a decade of striving. One touch of His glory rewrites what trauma tried to etch in stone. This is not fiction. This is your moment. Your chapter of pain closes now, and your true destiny begins. What's coming cannot be analyzed. It can't be explained on paper or predicted by algorithms. It can only be experienced, and when it comes, it will shatter every natural law, override every earthly limitation, and tear down every barrier placed around your life by culture, circumstance, or criticism. Have you ever heard of Christine Caine? The world once labeled her a victim, abandoned, abused, and voiceless. But through relentless faith, she rose to become a global preacher and founder of A21, a movement fighting human trafficking. She once said, "Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually you've been planted." What if that's what God has been doing with you all along? You've been walking in circles, doing everything right, sowing, praying, staying faithful, yet nothing seemed to move. But it wasn't because you lacked favor. It was because heaven was orchestrating a supernatural shift, not a natural one. A shift that ignores resumes, bypasses connections, and doesn't require earthly validation. This is a moment where logic must bow to sovereignty. 1 Peter 5:10 speaks over you now. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will Himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. Yes, this is a spiritual quake. The foundations of your life are being rearranged. False identities are breaking off. Lies you unknowingly believed are being uprooted. Labels others placed on you, unworthy, too late, too broken, are disintegrating before the breath of God. You are not just rising, you are stepping into a new frequency, a higher position, a divine flow that carries favor, clarity, and authority. So don't try to explain it, don't justify it, just walk in it. You didn't earn this through effort. You received it through belief, through the quiet trust that kept you tethered to God when nothing made sense. God is bypassing systems, skipping over gatekeepers, and going straight to you. Just like He did for David, who wasn't even invited to the lineup of potential kings. He's doing it in a way so bold, so unmistakable, that people will have no choice but to say, "That had to be God." And that's the point. This shift isn't to glorify your strategy, it's to glorify His sovereignty. Your story will be undeniable proof that heaven still moves mountains. You won't just carry a testimony, you'll become one, and the magnitude of your transformation will cause others to believe again, to hope again, to surrender again. Are you ready to become living proof that God still interrupts time, still rewrites lives, and still raises up the ones the world left behind? Because ready or not, your shift has already begun. So prepare yourself, not with anxiety, but with expectation. What's about to happen in your life won't follow logic, and it won't require explanation, but it will make history. You're entering a season where the miraculous becomes your rhythm, and favor will trace every step you take, even the ones you haven't planned yet. This isn't just another chapter. This is the defining shift that changes everything you thought was permanent. Have you ever felt like your prayers were letters sent to heaven with no reply, yet you still prayed? You praised God when you had every reason to panic. You showed up when no one else saw your sacrifice. You clung to your calling when you had no confirmation. And now, heaven has responded. Your obedience has been recorded. Your faith has been weighed and measured, and you are being rewarded. But this is no ordinary reward. This is an outpouring, a divine avalanche of answered prayers, open doors, and uncontainable increase. Ephesians 3:20 declares that God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. You're about to experience exactly that. Why? Because you believed when it was hardest to. When the pressure increased, you didn't bow. When the delay stretched long, you didn't break. You worshipped without evidence. You trusted without a timeline. Like Abraham, who left everything he knew for a promise he couldn't see, your faith carried you through unfamiliar places. Like Esther, who prepared in silence for a moment she couldn't predict, your persistence has now aligned with God's perfect timing. And just as He did for them, He is now releasing favor that will shake the very ground around you, the kind of blessing that brings nations to their knees, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. Are you ready for blessings you didn't even ask for? Are you prepared for doors to swing wide open that you never even knocked on? This next season of favor won't be based on your wish list. It will be based on your faith ledger. God remembers the private sacrifices, the silent battles, the prayers you whispered in chaos while pretending everything was okay. He saw it all, and He never forgets. This reward isn't just personal, it's generational. Your children, your family, your bloodline will walk in peace because you stood in battle. They will reap joy because you sowed in sorrow. Psalm 112, 2-3 promises. Their children will be mighty in the land. Wealth and riches are in their houses, and their righteousness endures forever. That's the kind of legacy you're building. Not just wealth, but spiritual inheritance, overflowing with peace, protection, and purpose. Let your heart be glad again. The drought you've been walking through for years, it's finally over. The waiting room of delay and disappointment has served its purpose. Now comes the overflow. Get ready to see tangible signs. Watch closely, because in the days ahead, you'll be able to point and say, that, right there, is the reward of my faith. Do you remember Tyler Perry? Once homeless, living in his car, misunderstood, overlooked. But he kept writing, kept believing, and kept sowing in the dark. Now, he owns one of the largest film studios in America. His story is a testimony of what God can do when faith stays faithful. Could it be that yours is next? You've been in the shadows, in the pit, in the unseen back rooms of destiny. You've watched others take center stage while you stayed hidden. You've supported others' dreams while silently wondering when your time would come. But that ends tonight. You're not just stepping forward, you're stepping into a divine unveiling. The light is shifting, the page is turning, your rise begins now. Can you feel the ground beneath your feet trembling with promise? Are you ready to walk into blessings your bloodline has never seen? because the hand of God is moving and nothing will ever be the same again. This isn't just elevation, it's dominion. God is not merely lifting you to a higher place, He is enthroning you with authority. Where despair once ruled your mornings and dictated your choices, it now bows to the joy of the Lord. Where anxiety haunted your nights, peace has now taken residence. You're not only rising, you're ruling. This is a divine exchange, your ashes for beauty, your sorrow for celebration, your trembling for confidence. As Isaiah 61:3 declares, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. You're not just escaping darkness anymore, you're becoming light. You're being transformed into a beacon, visible, radiant, and unshakable. Where you once felt unseen, passed over, and easily forgotten, you're now being positioned in places of influence and demand. The roles are reversing. Where you once cried out for help, now you will carry answers. Where you once searched for direction, now others will look to you for clarity. Can you feel it in your bones? This rise will not be quiet. It will not be soft. It will echo through atmospheres, rippling through lives, igniting others. Those who once identified you by your pain will now recognize you by your power. You are being rewritten in the eyes of those who dismissed you. No longer overlooked, you are now undeniable. Your gifts, once dormant, buried under trauma and silence, are awakening. Your voice, once muted by insecurity and doubt, is finding bold volume. And your purpose, it's no longer in hiding. It is stepping out with authority, clothed in fire and dressed in glory. You are not coming out of this storm barely holding on. You are emerging with the spoils of war, wisdom, territory, clarity, and resilience. This is not just breakthrough, this is spiritual dominance. God is not giving you a podium, He's handing you a platform. Your territory is expanding, not just geographically but spiritually. You are being entrusted with influence not for popularity, but for impact. Just as Joshua stepped into the promised land, told in Joshua 1:3, every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you. God is now placing your feet where your prayers once stood alone. Your name is being whispered in influential circles, and it's not by chance, it's not luck, it's preparation meeting divine timing. You earned this not through striving, but through suffering, not through fame, but through faithfulness. You wore humility when pride would have been easier. You stayed hidden when exposure could have been tempting. You healed in silence, and now God is rewarding you in public. Let both heaven and hell know, the silent one has now found their roar. The one who was broken has now discovered their crown. The echo of your past no longer holds power over your future. The pain no longer speaks louder than your calling. The version of you that barely made it, that version is gone. This new you, the resurrected you, walks in dominion. Think of Joyce Meyer, once a victim of abuse and trauma, silenced by her past. But now her voice echoes across nations, bringing healing to millions. Her scars became her scepter, and so will yours. Are you ready for the roar within you to be louder than the noise that surrounded you? Your rise has begun, and this time you're not coming back down. Not because you're better than anyone, but because God built you for this height. The ground you used to cry on is now beneath your feet. So stand tall, breathe deeply, and take your place in the authority God has given you. Yes, it's possible. In fact, it's already in motion. In a single night, what you've waited for, believed for, wept for, and sowed for is finally coming into full view. The prayers that once echoed in silence are now thundering into manifestation. God is not limited by clocks or calendars. He is only bound by His truth. And the truth is this: your season of delay has officially expired. What felt stuck is now being released. What was invisible is becoming visible. What you thought was denied is now being delivered. The questions that kept you awake at night about purpose, timing, and breakthrough are about to be answered in ways so profound they will chase you down. As Deuteronomy 28:2 declares, all these blessings will come on you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God. You've waited for favor, now it's going to fall like rain, not a drizzle, a downpour. The floodgates of heaven are not trickling, they're wide open. The manifestations will come not in drops, but in waves. You won't just glimpse your dreams, you will grasp them. What you once saw in the spirit while others laughed or doubted will now be held in your hands. This is the season where prophecy becomes your reality. Have you ever experienced something so perfectly timed, it felt like the world paused to favor you? That's what's happening now. Everything that once felt disconnected is now aligning with surgical precision. God has synchronized time, people, resources, and miracles to bring your promise to life. Romans 8:28 says, "In all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." You don't need to strive anymore, just surrender. You don't need to perform or push, just position yourself. This shift doesn't come from your effort. It flows from divine alignment. It is not your strength that's producing this harvest. It is God's name, his word, his covenant being fulfilled. So look up. Let your posture shift from waiting to witnessing. The long night is over, and now in one night everything changes, and not just temporarily, but eternally. You will never be the same again. You fought for so long, spiritual warfare began to feel like your new normal. Waking up in battle mode felt routine. But now, hear what the Lord is declaring over you tonight. The final battle is over. Not paused, not postponed, over. This isn't another round of struggle. This is the beginning of uninterrupted victory. The enemy tried everything: confusion, fear, financial loss, delay, betrayal, but none of it worked. You're still standing, and not only did you survive, you endured with faith, because you stood while others fell, because you kept worshiping when it made no sense. God is releasing a victory so weighty, it will shift your entire bloodline. This is not just a personal win, it's a spiritual overthrow. The version of you that lived in survival mode has been buried. The crowned you is rising. You've been through the fire and didn't come out burned. You don't even smell like smoke. Like the Hebrew boys in Daniel 3, you were surrounded by flames, but there was another in the fire with you, and he preserved you for this very hour. And through it all, you kept your heart soft. Even when betrayal came from those closest to you, you chose love over revenge, mercy over malice. And that kind of character is exactly what heaven honors. Now, the battlefield becomes the stage. The scars become your crown, and the struggle becomes your platform. 2 Timothy 4:7-8 speaks this over you. I have fought the good fight. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness. And just like Bishop T.D. Jakes, who went from poverty and obscurity to global influence, often saying, the greater the attack, the greater the assignment. Your pain was never pointless. It was prophetic. And now it's public. God is giving you the spoils of war, not just in the form of possessions, but in wisdom, spiritual authority, peace, legacy, and influence. This victory will not be quiet. It will not go unnoticed. It will be loud. It will be seen, and it will be respected. So ask yourself, can you handle being crowned after carrying so much weight? Because heaven has decided. Your season of warfare has ended. Your rise has begun. People will look at you in wonder. They'll ask, how did you make it through all that? And your answer won't be complicated. It will be a declaration. Because I knew the war wasn't mine. It was the Lord's, and he won it for me. You may feel weary in your body, your hands tired from lifting burdens no one else saw. but your spirit is stronger than it's ever been. You are not limping into victory. You are dancing into it. You're not crawling out. You're breaking forth like a prisoner suddenly unshackled, like a bird set free after years in a cage. So lift your head high. Lay your weapons down, not in surrender to your enemies, but in honor of a battle already won. Exodus 14:14 says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." The victory is in motion, and this is not a temporary win. This is a lifetime decree. The rest of your life will be marked by triumph. You've spent too long living under limits that were never yours. Labels that others, wounded and weary themselves, placed upon you. Ceilings constructed by fear, walls reinforced by disappointment. But that old era ends tonight. God is tearing down every false limit, every spiritual restriction, every man-made wall that tried to tell you who you couldn't be. Can you feel it? Chains are falling. Voices that once diminished you are going quiet. And in their place you hear the whisper of heaven saying, "You are mine. You are more than enough." You're not just being freed. You're being released into divine authority. You were never created to blend into the background. You were never made to beg for a place at the table. You are not small, and you were never meant to play small. The breath of the Creator lives in your lungs. When you speak, atmospheres will shift. When you move, territories will respond. This isn't pride, it's promise. This isn't arrogance, it's inheritance. Romans 8:17 reminds us, "Now if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ." You are not just a servant in God's house. You are a child of the King, an heir to glory, authority, and victory. That means you don't beg, you declare. You don't shrink, you stand. You don't wait for permission, you move when heaven speaks. And heaven is speaking now, so take your place, not in fear, but in fire. Walk not as a question, but as an answer. Speak not as an echo, but as a voice that breaks silence. You are more than a survivor. You are a son, a daughter, and your presence carries weight. This is not religion. This is revelation. Every old name that clung to you, poverty, insecurity, timidity, confusion, is being stripped away. In its place, God is dressing you in truth, armor, and identity. Just as David exchanged a shepherd's robe for a king's crown, your garments are changing. Your posture is changing. Your influence is rising. You will command the very spaces that once rejected you. You will lead the very people who once ignored you. You are walking into places where your name has already been whispered, where favor has gone ahead to prepare the atmosphere. Think of Bishop Vashti Mackenzie, the first woman bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. She rose in spaces where her voice wasn't welcomed, yet she was chosen by God to break ceilings, not just for herself, but for a generation. Could it be that your rise is also the beginning of someone else's freedom? The time for playing small is over. The time for delay is done. You are stepping into divine dominion. This is your hour to roar, to shine, to lead, and to be seen as heaven has always seen you. So prepare yourself, not for a minor shift, but for a divine takeover. This isn't just another breakthrough. This is a reclaiming of everything hell tried to steal from you. This is your moment of dominion. No more shrinking to fit in rooms too small for your calling. No more holding back to make others feel comfortable with your power. Your spiritual authority has arrived, and it will not, cannot be denied. You've known brokenness in a way many people never will. You've walked through shattered relationships, seen doors close that once looked wide open. You've stared into mirrors and wondered, who am I now? The person staring back felt unfamiliar, but what you may not have realized in those fragile moments was that God wasn't finished. He was just getting started. Your brokenness was never your burial. It was your birthplace. The pain didn't come to destroy you. It came to deliver you. God doesn't throw broken things away. He uses them. He used a broken cross to redeem humanity. He used broken loaves and fish to feed thousands. And now, he's using the broken chapters of your story to build a platform the world can't ignore. Can you believe that the very pieces you thought disqualified you are the exact ones he's putting on display as your evidence of grace? Psalm 34:18 reminds us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." You were never disqualified. You were being distilled, refined in fire, forged in the secret places. And now, the season of hiding is over. Tonight marks the beginning of the most visible transformation you've ever experienced. Those who only knew your tears are about to witness your testimony. The ones who saw your breakdown are about to witness your breakout. The same world that saw you crawl is now going to watch you fly, not because you forced it, not because you faked it, but because you were forged in fire. This transformation won't be subtle, it won't be silent, it will be seen, and it will be unmistakable. People will marvel. They'll say, "Only God could have done that," and they'll be right. Isaiah 60:22 declares, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That time is now. But in the midst of the spotlight, remember what saved you. Don't let the fame redefine your foundation. Don't let public applause drown out the voice of the one who called you when no one else did. Stay grounded in the presence that healed you. Stay humble in the power that found you. Because this rise isn't about popularity, it's about purpose. It's not about being seen, it's about being sent. This isn't a reward for perfection, it's an assignment from heaven. You were broken on purpose for a purpose, and now you are rising with it. Rising not just to shine, but to serve. Rising not just to prosper, but to lead. The scars you carry are sacred. They are proof that you survived what was designed to kill you, and now you're being commissioned to lift others from the same pit. Think of Bethany Hamilton, the surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack at 13. The world expected her to disappear. Instead, she returned to the ocean and became a global inspiration. Not because she was whole in body, but because she was whole in spirit. What if your scars become someone else's survival guide? Get ready. You are not stepping into favor for attention's sake. You are stepping into fire-born assignment. You are moving not with arrogance, but with anointing. Not powered by pride, but propelled by grace. So are you ready to be known, not by what broke you, but by how you rebuilt in the hands of God? Because everything you've walked through wasn't preparing you for who you were. It was shaping who you were destined to be. And now, that destiny is unfolding right before your eyes. You are unstoppable, you are chosen, you are rising, and tonight you don't just walk forward, you walk into your destiny. The waiting season is over. You're not chasing purpose anymore. Purpose has been chasing you, tracking every silent prayer, every act of obedience, every seed sown in secret. And now, you're finally stepping into it, not partially, not cautiously, but fully, boldly, without delay. This isn't just an upgrade. This isn't about tweaking your life or improving the version others tolerated. This is a completely different realm, a new atmosphere, a new posture, a new identity. You are entering a flow where striving ends and divine momentum takes over. You're crossing over from hoping into holding, from praying into possessing, from waiting into walking. Deuteronomy 11:11 speaks of the promised land as a place of hills and valleys that drinks water from the rain of heaven. That's where you are now, not in a desert, but in a land that responds to the rain of favor that's been sent on your behalf. The fog that once clouded your vision is lifting. Where there was uncertainty, there is now divine clarity. Where the road was once hidden, it is now illuminated with purpose. Psalm 119:105 declares, "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." And now, every step you take will feel lighter, sharper, more aligned, because you are no longer walking in circles, you are walking in destiny. Every yes you whispered through clenched teeth. Every "I trust you" that left your lips while your world fell apart. Every moment you stayed when it would have been easier to quit. It all led here. And now, that door, the one you've knocked on for years, isn't just opening. It's swinging wide with force. Your future isn't some distant possibility. It's not on the way. It's here, and it looks nothing like your past. The grief, the loss, the regret, they don't define this next chapter, because God didn't just prepare the future for you. He prepared you for the future. He stretched you, broke you, refined you, not to punish you, but to fit you into a blessing that was bigger than the old you could handle. Can you see how far you've come? Can you feel the change in your spirit? You're no longer reacting from fear. You're responding from wisdom. You're no longer intimidated by the doors that once seemed too big. You now carry the confidence to command them. You've outgrown the old version of yourself, the one that doubted, the one that apologized for taking up space, the one that questioned if the promise was ever really for you. That version has been buried in fire. What once made you tremble now trembles at your presence. So now step boldly. Step with a posture of someone who knows they were called, refined, appointed, and released. You are not walking into a dream. You are waking up to reality. The future you once imagined has now become the present you walk in. Joshua 1:9 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And now, God is not just with you. He's going ahead of you, aligning favor, opening doors, shifting atmospheres. Look at Viola Davis, once a young girl growing up in poverty, wearing thrift store clothes and enduring years of rejection. But she pressed forward through the fog of doubt and fear, and now stands as an icon of power, grace, and purpose. She once said, "The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity." For you, the door is now open. The opportunity has arrived. Are you ready to stop rehearsing your pain and start walking in your promise? Because the future you once saw in prayer has now become the path beneath your feet. Walk confidently, speak boldly. This is your reality now, and nothing will ever be the same again. Tonight you don't just dream, you step into destiny. This isn't a passing moment or a fleeting emotional high. This is a divine activation, the unlocking of everything God planted in your spirit long before the world ever knew your name. This is not just about you. This is your legacy unfolding in real time, before your eyes, your family, and even your enemies. You are rising, but not for applause, not for validation. You are rising for impact. This elevation is generational. Your rise is not just your reward, it's your responsibility. Your children, your bloodline, your community, they will all eat from the fruit of this moment. You are the breaker, the curse cutter, the cycle ender. You are the one God marked to change everything. God didn't let you walk through the fire just to survive the flames. He allowed the fire so you could rise with a voice so fierce it would echo through atmospheres. The very trials that tried to take your breath will now amplify your roar. This rise will not be silent. The earth will feel it. The spiritual realm will feel it. Your family will feel it. The darkness that tried to bury you will tremble when it realizes it only buried a seed. Micah 7:8 says, "Do not gloat over me, my enemy. Though I have fallen, I will rise." And you're not just rising, you're redefining the future. You'll leave footprints where others left question marks. You'll walk boldly through doors others only dreamed of knocking on. You'll build what they called impossible. And what you build won't just be a structure, it will be a blueprint. A living testimony that others can point to and say, if God did it for them, maybe He can do it for me. You're becoming a walking miracle, a testimony in motion. But don't forget what held you steady when everything else was shaking, the presence of God. Your legacy will not be measured in numbers, accolades, or titles. It will be measured by your surrender, not how high you rose, but how deeply you knelt, not how far you went, but how faithfully you followed. James 4:10 reminds us, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." So remain yielded, stay broken, stay low before the one who lifted you high. Because God is not done, he's just getting started. There are mountains yet to conquer, nations to touch, hearts to heal, and chains to break. The rise was never about comfort, it was always about calling. So let the earth tremble, let critics whisper, let heaven celebrate, because what's rising in you isn't a moment, it's a movement. And your legacy? It begins tonight. You've prayed for others, you've stood in the gap when no one saw you, you've been the quiet intercessor, the unseen warrior, the silent strength behind someone else's breakthrough. While your own dreams remained in waiting, you helped carry the dreams of others. And now heaven is returning the favor. Can you feel it? The seeds you sowed in private are becoming a public harvest. Psalm 126, 5-6 says, "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy." Your joy is no longer postponed. Your harvest is no longer delayed. The same arms that once lifted others are now being lifted by grace, favor, and glory. Think of Harriet Tubman, once enslaved, silent, underestimated, but her surrender to God made her a deliverer of generations. What if your surrender is meant to liberate others too? What if your faith in this moment is the beginning of someone else's future freedom? You're no longer waiting, you're waking up. And this is not a return to who you used to be. This is the arrival of who you were always destined to become. Tonight is not just any ordinary night, it's a divine turning point. This moment matters more than the last 10 years combined. As you stand on the precipice of something greater, know that God has been shaping you, preparing you for this exact moment. The trials, the waiting, the seasons of silence, everything has been building up to this night, where your destiny shifts and you step into the fullness of what God has planned for you. You're not just stepping into your future, you are embracing the fullness of His calling on your life. Do you feel it? The change in the atmosphere, the pull towards something greater, the stirring of the Holy Spirit? This is your time. Don't miss it. What you've been praying for, hoping for, and believing in is on the verge of manifesting in your life in ways you never imagined. God is about to do something remarkable in your life, and this moment is the beginning of it all. As you stand in this season of transition, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, who has supported this channel, who has allowed God's word to reach your heart. Your commitment to this journey is a blessing, and it's not unnoticed. If this message has inspired you, encouraged you, or helped you see God's plan more clearly, I ask you to consider supporting us through a super thanks donation. Your support helps us to continue sharing these transformative messages with others who need them, spreading the hope and love of Christ to more people around the world. But let me be clear, whether or not you choose to donate, I am truly grateful for you. Your presence here, your engagement with this content, your commitment to walking in faith, it's all a blessing. I don't take it lightly. We are in this together, and your encouragement is the fuel that drives this channel forward. If you have been blessed by today's message, I ask that you take a moment to show your support in the ways that mean the most to you. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who need to hear this message. We're all part of this incredible journey, and together we can make a difference. Drop a comment below. Let us know how this message spoke to you, or how we can continue to pray for you in this season of your life. May God continue to bless you abundantly, covering you with favor and guiding you every step of the way. Your future is bright, your purpose is unfolding, and God is with you every step of the way. Step boldly into your destiny knowing that this is just the beginning of all the incredible things He has in store for you. Stay strong in faith, keep believing, and remember, tonight your life changed. Let's walk in that change together.